Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, chapters 27, text 27. Yadevam adhyatma rataha kalena bahujanmana sarvatra jat vairagya abrahma bhuvanat munihi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When a person thus engages in devotional service and self-realization for many, many years and births, he becomes completely reluctant to enjoy any one of the material planets, even up to the highest planet, which is known as Brahmaloka. He becomes fully developed in consciousness. Anyone engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as a devotee, but there is a distinction between pure devotees and mixed devotees. A mixed devotee engages in devotional service for the spiritual benefit of being eternally engaged in the transcendental abode of the Lord in full bliss and knowledge. In material existence, when a devotee is not completely purified, he expects material benefit from the Lord in the form of relief from material miseries, or he wants material gain, advancement in knowledge of the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity, or knowledge as to the real nature of the Supreme Lord. When a person is transcendental to these conditions, he is called a pure devotee. He does not engage himself in the service of the Lord for any material benefit or for understanding of the Supreme Lord. His one interest is that he loves the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he spontaneously engages in satisfying him. So a devotee is one who has devotion. Devotee, devotion. Two, devotion for the Supreme Lord. So there are two kinds, Sakam and Nishkam. Sakam and Nishkam means mixed devotee and pure devotee. The Sakam devotees, they have some material desires. So they are devotees, but they still have some desire. The desire could be either to have knowledge of the Supreme Lord, knowledge of the position of the living entity and of the Supreme Lord, or the desire could be to enjoy some material benefits and at the same time, but they are devotees, like the demigods are also devotees. They are devotees of the Lord. They have some desire to enjoy in the heavenly planets, to have some management, some control. So one of the examples is that. And then again, there are the pure devotees who want to engage in the service of the Lord, not because they want anything, but it's just out of love. They have revived. They already have this love for the Lord, and out of love, they want to serve the Lord. It's like a mother and a child. The mother serves the baby, not because she wants anything, but only out of love. So spontaneously, the pure devotee, he's engaging in the service of the Lord. So one may say, oh, but I have so many desires and yet I'm trying to be a devotee. It's okay, at least we are coming to the door of the Lord. Krishna says 4 types of pious people approach me. Those who are in distress, those who are in need of some material gain, those who are seeking for knowledge, or those who are inquisitive. He says 4 types of pious people come to me. And so it's all right if at this stage we still have material desires. We still continue engaging in hearing and chanting and hearing about the pure devotees and pure devotional service. And gradually, our love for the Lord will also be manifest. The highest example of pure devotional service is that of the gopis in Vrindavan. They are not interested in understanding Krishna, but only in loving him. That platform of love is the pure state of devotional service. Unless one is advanced to this pure state of devotional service, there is a tendency to desire elevation to a higher material position. So the gopis of Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya, in his teachings, he pointed out that the highest highest love that any devotee has for Krishna those are the gopis of Vrindavan. And so what we are hearing that unless one has come to the pure stage of loving devotional service, it's spontaneous, it's out of love. Till the time we don't revive that love, we always have some desire to get some kind of a material position. A mixed devotee may desire to enjoy a comfortable life on another planet with a greater span of life, such as on Brahmaloka. These are material desires. But because a mixed devotee engages in the service of the Lord, ultimately, after many, many lives of material enjoyment, he undoubtedly develops Krishna consciousness. And the symptom of this Krishna consciousness is that he is no longer interested in any sort of materially elevated life. He does not even aspire to become a personality like Lord Brahma. So they may be mixed devotees, but because the mixed devotee is continuing to engage in devotional service, after many, many lives, his desires, all the material desires will be gone, and he will revive his pure love for Krishna. And that is the test that are we going on the right path? Then are we getting more attached to Krishna? And to that degree is our attachment for material desires slackening, reducing. So we can see that love for Krishna, that's the goal. Prema Pumartha Mahan. We should be, sometimes we are morose that, oh, I have so many material desires. But the real moroseness should be, oh, I don't have love for Krishna. You know, that is the thing that, oh, I've forgotten my love for Krishna. I don't have any love for Krishna. And so for that, we should feel in a lamentable position and try to hanker for this love, lolium, this greed for love of Krishna, love of God. Is that okay? And the more we engage in hearing and chanting, we are reviving our love of God. Lord Chaitanya, he's come, especially he came to give us this love of God simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. We can revive it. Is that okay?
Yes.
So then, Mad Bhakta Prati Buddhartho Mad Prasadena Bhuyasa Ne Shreyasam Swasamsthanam Kaivalyakyam Mad Ashrayam Prapanoti Hancha Sadhiraha Swadrisha Chinna Samshayaha Yad Gatva Na Nivarteta Yogi Lingad Vinirgame. My devotee actually becomes self-realized by my unlimited causeless mercy, and thus, when freed from all doubts, he steadily progresses towards his destined abode, which is directly under the protection of my spiritual energy of unadulterated bliss. That is the ultimate perfectional goal of the living entity. After giving up the present material body, the mystic devotee goes to that transcendental abode and never comes back. So this is liberation. Going back home, back to Godhead. Krishna says, one who reaches my abode never comes back. And same, Lord Kapila Dev is saying the same thing here to Devahuti, that once one reaches the spiritual world, he never comes back. And he becomes actually self-realized. He says, my devotee, so a devotee, he actually understands who he is, his original position. How? By the causeless mercy of the Lord, unlimited causeless mercy of the Lord. So the path of bhakti, we are always seeking the mercy of the Lord. That is the path of bhakti. We are always saying, oh my dear Lord, please help me. You know, I am in a helpless condition. Please have mercy on me. But it's not that we don't do anything. We do continue our hearing, chanting, deity worship, and at the same time, call out for the mercy of the Lord. And that is the goal of each and every living entity, to go back home, back to Godhead. Actual self-realization means becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. So this means self-realization, becoming a devotee of God, understanding that I am not this body. I do not belong here to the material world. I have a loving relationship with God. That is real self-realization. That is real liberation. The existence of a devotee implies the function of devotion and the object of devotion. So, devotee, what does he have? He has devotion. Devotion for who? For the Lord. If there's a lover, there's a beloved. There's the object of love. So there are two. It's not only one. Devotion for whom? For the Lord. So there are two. Self-realization ultimately means to understand the personality of Godhead and the living entities, to know the individual self and the reciprocal exchanges of loving service between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity is real self-realization. So what is self-realization? Is to understand who am I, who's God, and what is my relationship with Him, and to be situated in that relationship. That is real self-realization. This cannot be attained by the impersonalist or other transcendentalists. They cannot understand the science of devotional service. Devotional service is revealed to the pure devotee by the unlimited, causeless mercy of the Lord. So if I go the path of, say, thinking that I am going to become the Supreme Lord after I become liberated, then there is no question. Then God understands, oh, you have no desire to know me. You have no desire to understand the truth. And so Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that how one surrenders to me, to that degree I reveal myself to them. He says that Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tatheva bhajami aham. As one surrenders, to that degree I reveal. So if Krishna says that, oh, this person's desires to become God, not to understand what is his and my relationship, then Krishna lets us continue that. But for the devotee, because he has the desire to understand the truth, to be situated in the truth, to understand who am I after all? Why do I exist? Who is God? What's my relationship with Him? Then Krishna, He gives His causeless mercy to the devotee, and by the causeless mercy of the Lord, the pure devotee gets this knowledge. He gets this real knowledge. This is especially spoken of here by the Lord Mat Prasadena, by my special grace. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Only those who engage in devotional service with love and faith receive the necessary intelligence from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that they gradually and progressively they can advance to the abode of the Personality of Godhead. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, to those who are constantly engaged in serving me with love, to them I give the understanding by which they can come to me. He says, so I give the understanding to someone who is engaged, who's constantly engaged in serving me with love. Serving in love. And then Krishna gives the intelligence, means Krishna takes away the ignorance, the darkness of ignorance. What's the darkness of ignorance? We are thinking we are the body. We are thinking we are independent of Krishna. We have forgotten our relationship with Krishna. But the more we engage in devotional service, we are appealing to Krishna. We are inviting His grace. We are trying to get His attention. And then He says, yes, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. He's saying that that's His word. So we don't need to doubt it. We should have full faith in Krishna. If I serve Krishna, Krishna is going to reveal me the truth. He's going to take me back home, back to Godhead. He will give me the full knowledge of what I need to, of what I know, of what I need to know. Nihashreyasa means the ultimate destination. Swasamsthana indicates that the impersonalists have no particular place to stay. The impersonalists sacrifice their individuality so that the living spark can merge into the impersonal effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord. But the devotee has a specific abode. The planets rest in the sunshine, but the sunshine itself has no particular resting place. When one reaches a particular planet, then he has a resting place. The spiritual sky, which is known as Kaivalya, is simply blissful light on all sides, and it is under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if I think that, oh, I don't want to go into one of the planets where Krishna is living, where God is there. God is there in all the spiritual planets. And if I say, oh, I don't want to go to any of the planets, I just simply want to become light. I want to cease my existence. I don't want to exist anymore. But that is a fantasy. It's a phantasmagoria. Why? Because the soul is eternal. Krishna has already said in Bhagavad Gita that the soul is eternal. It can never be annihilated. He said, we were always individuals, we are individuals, and we will continue to remain individuals. So even if I go and sit in the light, I'm still an individual. Although I can pretend for some time that I have become God now, but then that's just, I'm pretending for some time. And after I reach that position, I will come down to one of the planets in the material world. It's like Prabhupada would say that when we are in the spaceship, how long will the spaceship be in the space? It has to come to one or the other planet. How long is the aeroplane going to fly in the sky? It has to land somewhere or the other. Similarly, how long can we live in the light? We have to take shelter of one of the planets. And if we don't take shelter of the spiritual planets, we will come back to this material planets. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 14.27, Brahmanohi Pratisthanam, Pratisthaham. The impersonal Brahman effulgence rests on the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Kaivalya or impersonal Brahman. So what is this Brahma Jyoti? It is the light which is coming from the body of God. It's the light coming from the body of God. Just as we see the sun planet, and from the sun planet, the sunshine is coming. Similarly, from God's body, this light is coming, which is called Brahma Jyoti. So in that impersonal effulgence, there are spiritual planets, which are known as Vaikunthas, chief of which is Krishna Lok. So as we have this material sky, in the material sky, there are so many material planets floating about. In the spiritual sky, there are spiritual planets floating about. They are called the Vaikuntha Lokas. And the highest spiritual planet is called Goloka Vrindavan. That is where Krishna himself lives. He himself, Krishna Lok. According to the desire of the particular devotee, he is offered a particular abode, which is known as Swasamsthan, his desired destination. By the grace of the Lord, the self-realized devotee engaged in devotional service understands his destination even while in the material body. He therefore performs his devotional activity steadily, without doubting. And after quitting his material body, he at once reaches the destination for which he has prepared himself. After reaching that abode, he never comes back to this material world. So a pure devotee, although he may be living still in this material world, inside a material body, but because his consciousness is purified now, he's Krishna conscious. So by the grace of the Lord, by Krishna's mercy, by God's mercy, he understands that this is my relationship with God and this is my destination that I'm going to go to. Because there's so many different Vaikuntha planets where Krishna resides, some of them as Lord Vishnu, Narayan, as Sankarshan, he's there as Vasudev, he's there Anirudh. There's so many different planets are there as Lord Ramachandra. So it's before he leaves this material world, he already knows where he's going. And all this he understands by the grace of the Supreme Lord, by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. And once he goes back to the spiritual world, he never comes back to this material world. No one comes back here to the material world. He never comes back. And so this we should accept it without doubting. We can have questions. Sure, initially we may have some questions, but that's okay. We can ask the questions to clarify our doubts, but we should accept this because this is the word of God. Is that okay? We still have one more paragraph.
Yes, so the Brahma Jyoti is known as Kaivalya, right?
Yeah, Kaivalya.
Brahma Jyoti is known. Okay.
Yes. Kaivalya. The words linga vinigrame, which are used here, mean after being freed from the two kinds of material bodies, subtle and gross. So we may think, oh, I have only one type of body, but actually there are two types of body. And what are they? One is subtle body, one is gross body. So the subtle body, what is it made of? Mind, intelligence, false ego, and contaminated consciousness. That's how a subtle body is made of. Mind, intelligence, false ego. And one more thing is added here. What is that? Contaminated consciousness. Because that's a foreign thing to us. This contaminated consciousness. What is the contaminated consciousness? I am God. I'm God. I'm the enjoyer of this material world. And what is the gross body? Gross body is made of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So gross body is what we can see, the senses, the eyes, the hands, the nose. That's the gross body. And what's the subtle body is our mind. We think we are the mind, but we are not. The mind is just something material. And then intelligence. We think we are the intelligence, but we are not. Or we think we are the false ego, but we are not the false ego. We think we are this contaminated consciousness, but we are not the contaminated consciousness. We are the pure soul. So when one is transferred to the spiritual world, he gives up both the subtle and gross bodies of this material world. So that means, you see, when we die, we give up this gross body, but the subtle body remains with us and takes us to another gross body. The mind, intelligence, false ego, contaminated consciousness. It stays with the soul. We can't see it because it's subtle. With this gross eyes, we can't see it. But then it takes us to another body. Then we leave that body, it takes us to another body. But what does liberation mean? It means that we give up even our subtle body. We don't need our material mind, material intelligence, our false ego and contaminated consciousness. So does it mean that the soul does not have a mind? It has a spiritual mind. Does it mean that it does not have an ego? It has, but it does not have a false ego. It has a true ego. So when he gives up this material, subtle and gross bodies, then he can enter into the spiritual world, because nothing material can go into the spiritual world, right? He enters the spiritual sky in his pure spiritual body and is stationed in one of the spiritual planets. So the soul, it's not that the soul is nothing. It's not that it's just foam or, the spirit, the soul has a spiritual form. It has a spiritual body. And then he goes into the spiritual world in his spiritual body. Although the impersonalists also reach
I
that
just
spiritual
have
sky.
one question. So that means that when we go to Brahma Jyoti, then also our subtle body is also given away,
Yes. Yes.
right? Even
The
when we go to
subtle body
Brahma
is given
Jyoti.
away. Yes, but the spiritual body is not yet formed. Still, the soul
Oh,
is in the
okay.
form of a spark only. The spiritual body is not yet formed. Why? Because the desire is not there to understand what is my real form. The desire.
But then the subtle body is not there.
Yeah, subtle body is not there.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So then, although they reach the spiritual sky after giving up the subtle and gross material bodies, they are not placed in the spiritual planets. Here is said, okay, although the impersonalists, they reach the spiritual sky, they are given up their material material, subtle and gross body, but they cannot enter into a spiritual planets. As they desire, they are allowed to merge in the spiritual effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord. So because the impersonalist, his desire is just to be in the light. So he remains as a tiny molecule of light, as a spirit soul, as a tiny, because soul also has a form. It has a spiritual form, but it's not completely developed his spiritual body as yet. He's still in that kind of a spark. Like how the sunshine has these tiny molecules of light, like that. So because of the desire, so then he stays in the light. The word swasamsthanam is also very significant. As a living entity prepares himself, so he attains his abode. The impersonal Brahman effulgence is offered to the impersonalists, but those who want to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his transcendental form as Narayan in the Vaikunthas, or with Krishna in Krishna Lok, go to those abodes wherefrom they never return. So it depends on our desire. Do I want to merge into the light and remain as one of the molecules of light? Then that's where I will go. Or if I have a desire, I want to see God, I want to be with God, I want to have a loving relationship with God, and one of his forms as Lord Narayan, then I will go to one of the Vaikuntha planets. But if I have a desire to associate with God in his original form as Krishna, then I will go to Krishna Lok. And once one reaches these spiritual planets, there's no way one comes back. It's like a permanent right of abode there, then you get a permanent, it's not a temporary visa or temporary resident card. It's a permanent right of abode and never return from those planets. Is that okay? Yeah. So we should have this desire to go back home, back to Godhead. And the easiest way to go back home, back to Godhead in this age is by hearing and chanting, and continue to hear and chant.
So the chanting, the Naam you can take with you. That can go up with you to the spiritual world.
Yes. So today we were in our Bhakti Weber, we are on the chapter 26, just one chapter, like where we were hearing that sound. First there was sound, from the ether came, then gradually air and touch. I don't know if you'll remember that. Yeah. Sound, So the sound, how it was, sound creates everything material here in the material world, right? But the same sound, when we have spiritual sound, this, as you rightly said, this same spiritual sound, it has the whole spiritual world. How the material sound is the foundation of the material creation, the spiritual sound, it takes us back to the spiritual world. It reveals the entire spiritual world to us. Yeah, that's what we were discussing today morning. So yes, as you rightly said, the Naam goes with us because that's Krishna himself. It's God himself. Yeah. The name is non-different than the pastimes and the qualities, than the abode. Everything is there in the holy name. Yeah. So we continue chanting, and everything will be revealed to us. It's the easiest process given to us by Lord Chaitanya
In Kali Yuga. Yes.
in Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the easiest process that's been given to us. Direct process, easiest process. The chanting of the holy name was there even in the previous yugas. Like Dhruva Maharaj, he was chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He was also chanting. So along with his meditation, he was chanting. For us, we don't have qualification to do anything else. So we are said, you hear and you chant. And in this way, you can remember and revive our love for God, revive that love, have that hankering. I've forgotten, I have this love for Krishna. We are saying, oh, we are hankering that, oh, we have so much material desires, I have so much attachment. But we should instead hanker that we should feel sorry that I've forgotten God. I have a loving relationship with Krishna and I've forgotten him. And I need to revive this relationship. And that is we can hanker and lament for. Have that greed that I want to revive my love for God. I want to revive my love for Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes. Beautiful.
So we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening and enjoying. And Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Bol.